could I ask you to summarise what you were talking about today?
Certainly. Basically today was about getting people to understand how they use the internet. We all use the internet as part of our daily lives, but we don't always think about what can happen. It's not to stop people enjoying using the internet, it's a great thing for us to use, but we want to make sure that they don't see the bad side of it. So we wanted them to understand about the information that they post, the people that they're talking to online, and I guess their behaviour when they are online. So they do the right things so it can make it a positive experience for them.
Do you think the pupils understood how important this is?
I think they do. I think not everybody is always aware of all the things. They don't, until somebody actually mentions something, they don't always think about it until then, because then they start to think, oh, I never thought about it that way. So hopefully, bit by bit, they will pick up on things and think, actually, I'll just change maybe my behaviour in a certain way.
But do you think there's a lot of people using the internet wrongly, possibly?
I think there are, but I think it's because they don't always understand the dangerous side of it.
Yeah.
They will start to use it because a new app comes along. Oh, I'm going to use this new app. So they'll start to use the app without thinking, well, actually, before I do it, I should actually just check to make sure it's okay. I should check. I should make it private. Do I know who I'm talking to? So they may start to use it, and then start to think, well, afterwards, I better think about some of the ways to keep it safe. Better to think about how to make it safe first, and then start to use it so they can get the benefits from it.
Something I found quite interesting was what you said about you putting your address on your Facebook profile, for example, would be like the same as, or maybe even worse than putting your address on the side of a bus.
Yeah, no, that's right. We don't often think about the things that we post, because we wouldn't put our information on a big poster in town. We wouldn't put it on the side of a bus. But we do exactly the same thing when we're online. We tend to think we're safe online when we're posting these things. Now, it's not that everything we post is bad, but it's just sort of thing, well, if I wouldn't do it in real life, why would I do it on the internet? I don't need to share these things without being very careful. So it's trying to make us think about all the good things that we do when we're away from the computer, and taking all those good behaviours and doing them when we are online as well. Because people could find out our information. It's not to be paranoid about it, you know, it's not we're going around in a bubble, but we don't need to share all these things.
Yeah.
Because, you know, our friends know who we are, so why post it if you don't need to post it? So it's just thinking about the things that we do post, and think if I wouldn't do it without the computer, why would I do it just because I'm using the computer? And I guess that is sometimes the problem, because we don't often think about it in those terms. We just, I'm just speaking to my mates, without thinking about who else could see this information.
Yeah. How big a problem do you think things like sending inappropriate pictures is?
I think pictures at the moment are probably one of the things where young people get into most trouble with, because they don't always think about what could happen to those pictures. Yeah. Now, not all pictures are fine. Most of the selfies we take are fine. We post these selfies up. Remember, people see us in real life. They see our faces. So just the fact they see it now on a picture doesn't make any difference. However, some of these pictures may not be the pictures that they want everybody to see. Yeah. So it might be something that's inappropriate. It may be something that's embarrassing. And think, oh, I only want to share it with my friends. But they forget that if I do post something online, as soon as one person has copied that picture, they've lost control. There's nothing they can do to get that picture back, because that is that person's property now. They've copied that picture, and they can do whatever they like with it. So it's trying to make them think, right, if I don't want this to be shared amongst everybody, I don't need to send the picture in the first place. I don't need to make it available. And just sort of think twice before you send the picture, and think, am I happy for this to be on the school notice board? If I am, fine. If I'm not, don't post it onto the internet, because you've got no control once you've posted it.
Do you think this was effective by explaining this to them?
I think it was. I think the one thing that most of the classes I mentioned that maybe brought it home was I said, right, I've been looking at all of your Instagram pictures, and we're going to put it up on the board now. And you could suddenly see people's faces, a bit worried. I don't know, they're going to show my picture. What are they going to see? I think then it starts to hit home. Well, maybe you could have seen it. Maybe the teachers could have seen these pictures. Well, if they can see it, everybody else can see it. So maybe I do now need to think about it. It's just trying to change our behaviour. I'm not saying don't use the internet. Don't stop using these apps. They're brilliant. They're wonderful things to do. I use it all the time myself. But we're just careful about the pictures, particularly around pictures. So we'd have to share things without thinking, well, I've got to just be a bit mindful of the fact that other people may see it.
Something I found quite interesting was Matt's story, and I was wondering, does that happen a lot, that kind of thing?
It does. I mean, for those who may not have seen it, for the earlier years, Matt's story was he thought he was speaking to a young girl on the internet, and they were talking all the time. And when they arranged to then meet up, he realised actually it wasn't the young girl he thought it was.
Yeah.
And that's the trouble online. We can't tell what people look like. People can pretend to be anybody they like. And that does happen an awful lot. There's some sad stories very recently about a young lad who met up with somebody he was playing Xbox Live with. And very dire circumstances there. We get this idea, I've got this friend, because we're always talking all the time. Yeah, we're great mates online. Yeah, we've got so much in common. But people may be lying about who they are. And that's why I showed them the fact that, A, it does happen in the news, but also the fact that I've got a Facebook page that looks like a young girl.
Yeah.
When I play games online, I don't look like this. I'm a penguin, I'm a moshi. I look different. And that's the thing. We just assume that must be what they look like. And unfortunately it does happen. People do pretend to be somebody who they're not on the internet. And if you don't know who those people are, you've just got to treat them as a stranger. Because that's who they are. People you don't know are strangers. They're not friends or followers or subscribers, just because that's how we call it online. They're just people we don't know, so we treat them just as we normally would.
I think, we're all using the internet a lot more now, and something I was thinking about is you're supposed to only make a profile on Facebook when you're 13 or above.
Yep.
But I don't think a lot of people are sticking by that rule.
And actually, it's a good example of showing how easy it is to pretend to be somebody who you're not. If you're 11 and you're using Facebook, you are pretending to be 13.
Yeah.
So if they can pretend to be 13, why can't I pretend to be 13?
Yeah.
And the trouble is, there's nothing really to stop them doing it. Now, it's not that it's illegal. It's actually to do with a strange law in America called the COPA law, which stops companies holding information of people under 13. But the thing is, it means that the sites that they're using are meant to be for people who are 13 and above. So it's not always suitable for much younger people to be using it. So they do need to be very careful, because most of the people they're speaking to are going to be much older people. This happens an awful lot, by the way, and we didn't talk about so much today about people playing games online. Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto. These are games that are 18 and above. But we know lots of young people are playing these games. And they play these games online. So when they are talking to these other players, the players they're playing with are adults, they're not children. So they're interacting in a world that's not really what they think of it as.
I mean, when you showed that you had made a profile of being a younger girl, it kind of, I really thought, it's amazing how easy that actually is.
Oh, it is, yeah. And the thing is, I created that site. It just took 5 minutes. I was using an old photograph of my daughter as my profile picture and some of her holiday snaps. And it just looks like a young girl's site. But within 2 days, I was in date with people asking to be my friend.
Yeah.
But they don't think they're being my friend, they think they're being that young girl's friend.
Yeah.
Because that's the picture that they see. So people are fooled into it. And that just goes to show you how people can be anybody that they like.
Because that game, Movie Star Planet,
Yep.
you were talking about how people are asking if you would be their girlfriend.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I think, well, why on earth do they think it? But it's because they see my character, which is a young girl in a purple dress. So they assume it must be a girl I'm speaking to. It's not, it's me. They don't have old grey-haired men characters to use, so I pick somebody else. And that's the trouble, yes, I can pretend to be anybody that I like. So it's just trying to say, look, don't be frightened of it, just be careful, just like you're in the real world, because people might pretend to be somebody who they're not. Because the internet's a fabulous place. It's a wonderful thing for us to use, but we want to get the benefit of it. And I think it's going to get better and better and better. That's the thing about the internet. All these wonderful things that we can do. In a few years' time, there are even more things that are fantastic. Yeah. But we want to make sure it's good for us. And we can only do that if we feel safe, we feel confident in our way of using it, so we get the best out of it.